in the long run. Season 3, morning to both of you. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. Mads, if I may,
yeah,
if I can kick off with you. You play Agnes Eastman,
yeah,
wife of Idris, and I know this whole thing is loosely based off of Idris's own life and experience. But I wondered, how did you bring your own inimitable contribution to proceedings?
Oh, yeah. So it's loosely based off Idris's life, and his background is Sierra Leonean and Ghanaian, and I am Ghanaian as well. So I grew up in a Ghanaian household. My mum came over in the 70s, and so there was a lot of that I could draw on. And when I read the script, I so identified with that culture and the community and the strength and the wit and the fire and the love that Agnes brings to the show. And my mom had all of those things, and some of the stories, even Jimmy and Idris and all of us, we could say we can remember things like that in our own mothers, you know. So it was great to be able to draw on those memories that I had, and my mum herself, and meeting Auntie Eve and seeing the essence of her too, the joy that she has and she embodies. It was just really brilliant to be able to bring that to Agnes. And being a mother myself, there's an experience that I can.
That's a connection,
yeah.
Cool. Jimmy, same question to you. I mean, the period that this is shot in, Jimmy, did you find it easy to recreate the vibe of that era and talk about your experience and bringing your contribution to the role?
Yeah, Joe. Well, obviously, I'm only 22, so I didn't grow up.
No, I know.
In the 80s,
I know,
you know?
but that's why I'm asking.
No, I'm only joking. You know what? I did. I love that, man. Thank you for going with me on that. Thank you for going with me. No, I did. You know, for me, it was memories of being a kid in the 80s and seeing your uncles, your friends' fathers as well. You know, everybody sort of growing up around that era. And then also, I didn't get to meet Idris's uncle, but it was almost like a Bible, because the guy's a legend of all the things that he did. You know, that they were factual stories in terms of what he had done here in the UK. And so I had a mixture of that. And then I was able just to have the freedom, the creative license to create, like I said, all those different people that I've grown up around, create that character that was the life and the soul of the party, that was determined, that is actually telling a story of someone moving to another country and how tough it is, and let alone how tough it was in the 80s. And so what's been great is that Valentine, he's full of joy, and he's very optimistic and hopeful, and he will always see the good side, try and see the good sides of everything. And it's been a pleasure to play him. And I'm not lying, Joel, we all crack up laughing like so much on set that by the end of the shoot, we've all got like 8 packs. Do you know what I mean? Because our stomachs are hurting just from the fun that
you kind of nicked my next question. I mean, I was literally going to ask that. Like, I can only imagine the jokes that must have been taking place on set. I mean, I want some memorable kind of... Give me an insight from both of you. I mean, you touched on one already, Jimmy. Carry on.
But it's so great because when we filmed season 1, me and Jimmy have known each other for a long time, but never worked professionally. So already there was a camaraderie, and then all the cast just have genuine chemistry, love, respect for each other. So you're genuinely coming. Like when we went on to do season 2 and 3, it was like returning to family. The laughter, the jokes. You know, Jimmy knows what makes me laugh. Idris knows what makes me laugh. I know what makes Idris laugh. And it's just trying to remember we were on a schedule, basically. Otherwise, just literally stop, laugh and laugh and laugh. And I remember one time when Jimmy had this, he comes, I think it's season 3, he comes in with a jukebox and he starts freestyling, dancing and everything. And then there's this moment where I was like, I'm just going to do it, but I'm just going to freestyle in a way that no one would expect from Agnes. So I start body bopping and doing all these locks, and everybody, the crew, director, everyone that was on set, we just all went mental and laughed and laughed. We take a moment to bring it in, because Agnes isn't, you don't get that kind of cheekiness from Agnes. And I just remember that was one of the funny memories I have.
And it's like that from the top downwards. I hate saying that, but like in terms of everybody, heads of department, you know, all the cast, all the crew, producers, you know, the extras. There's a lovely video online, Joel, where we're about to film a scene, like it's Mama's party scene, and we'd been playing the Sweet Mother song a lot, and then I think the director put it on. Sandy, our director, put it on, and then we all just ignored doing the rehearsal, and we all just started, I don't know, just dancing. Like it was like we were at a proper party, you know? And it was that thing where, you know what black people are like as well? You know, we just go in. So I think even like the rest of the producers crew, they didn't realize that if they don't stop this is actually going to turn into a big party, and we're not going to shoot anything this afternoon. And it's a great point if you watch the video online where you see the director go, okay, everybody, all right, we need to do some work now, because we would have just kept on going. And what's great, Idris did lead from the front line on that. Like he's got lots of banter, Joe, and for me, he gave me the position to be free and have a lot of fun, you know, because some comedy is this very, very much like stick to what's on the script. Don't go for, you know, don't expand on it. But he switches up every scene, as does Bill Bailey. And it's lovely to see Idris make his young self, Sammy Kamara, laugh. Like Sammy can, you know, Idris is always making him corpse during the scenes. And it's lovely just to see the chemistry between all of us.
Yeah.
The season encompasses the theme of gentrification. There was a couple of themes, obviously, that jump out at me. You've touched on one already with the migration of the family coming in, that whole dynamic. But I know that Eastbridge Estate is being looked at by developers. So talk about what are your experiences with that urban evolution, and how did you bring that to the party in terms of just I guess exemplifying the feelings that surround that, you know, there's people looking in our area and the community changing.
Well, if you don't mind, I'll start first. I grew up in like Plaistow, Canning Town, like the same bit of area that Idris grew up. He grew up in that area around the same time, you know, after I think he moved from Hackney. And I remember Canning Town changing from, it was a proper, like, you know, I would say white working class sort of community area. Then suddenly the regeneration started happening, and everybody started moving out to Essex. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone's going, I'm going Basildon. It's changing. We're not can't afford the new houses, and don't like the way the neighborhood's changing. And that was the first change that I saw. And then obviously the Olympics as well, how the Olympics affected the community. And so again, when we filmed this season, it reminded me of all those things. And even if you look at places like Westfield, how Westfield has had a massive impact on Stratford. Yeah, you can say positives, but what about those local shops? And so it's really interesting that the themes that we have throughout season 3, it's bizarre, like throughout every season actually, that they are so current now, whether it's stop and search by the police, whether it's regeneration, whether it's migration, or, you know, immigrants and stuff like that, as well as community and inclusion and diversity. Like what I love about our show, that you've got bagpipes just walking in and out of our house, you know, and you've got Rajesh as well. And for me, that reminds me of my upbringing. What about you, Mads?
Yeah, so I grew up in Stonebridge, and I actually was born on the Stonebridge estate. So I grew up when we had those massive concrete. You had Donovan Court, you had Hiscock House, and you remember all those high-rise buildings. And then we moved within Stonebridge, but to a house. And over that period of time, seeing the way that Stonebridge and Harlesden has been changing, I witnessed it, you know. And though yes, the estates were part of our life. They did pose a lot of problems, but it's knowing that those people that live in those areas, were they able to be rehoused in the area that they were going to school and where they were working? And that's the sad part of the journey. Because if you're reforming a neighborhood, you still want to have the people's needs at the center. And when you're then doing things like knocking it down to make £1 million houses, that's the evil. But when you're saying, because I know a lot of people that when they did knock down the buildings, some people stayed within the area. They were able to get housed within the new buildings, but where were all the others? And that's the sad part of it. And having, Halsden is so unique in that, when you walk down Halsden High Street, I just haven't been away at uni in Liverpool, and whenever I come home, I'd go Halsden. We don't live in London now. And my kids, I'm like, where are you going, Mum? You're going to Halsden? And I love that they know Halsden.
Yeah, Halsden.
The food, the sound, like now in this time of the year, it's going to be music on Halsden High Street. And it's just a home that I would be so sad if it was completely, changed to make space for, pushing people out, if that makes sense. And I just feel like Agnes has a rude awakening to the other side of doing up your estate. If you're not involved in the legislations and all those things, you're kind of selling your rights and your community's rights to people that want to make money.
Yeah. Jimmy, you touched on-screen representation and being in the mix and just being in an environment where you were surrounded by excellence that was good enough to be put out there, and just how much you guys enjoyed that. I thought that's important, because not only is in the long run embracing just a more ethnically diverse cast and output, it's excellence. It's not just being done to tick a box. It has been meticulous and pedantic. And I think all of those things are embodied in the end product.
Thank you.
So I wonder if next year, when I go down this list of, and I say again, the most exciting nominees, if I'm going to see anything that looks like you guys or from you guys. And what are your thoughts on the advancements being made in that space? Are things changing?
I'd say I think we're in a time now where I think this will be marking of that, if that makes sense. With everything that's happened with Corona, with George Floyd and the eruption of the social justice outcry, especially for the Black community, I feel like this is going to be the test in terms of from here on, where people are putting the money where their mouths are. And I feel I'm hearing a lot of the right sounds. Sky, Green Door, Sprout are leading the way in the way that we're telling stories about us, with us in the room, telling our stories the way that we want to tell them. And that is not just in the actors, but in the writers and production. And I think these are the kind of moves that need to continue to happen. And if BBC and Sky and Channel 4 and ITV and all the channels are being vocal about they're wanting that change, now from here on, as we continue to grow, I feel like this is going to be the telling time. But I'm encouraged because we're seeing shows like In the Long Run and I May Destroy You and Famalam and Sunny D and various British shows getting platforms, Enterprise. And I think this is encouraging for me, but we can only, I think, as we now move into a new phase of this whole thing, I think the proof will be in the pudding, actually.
Yeah, I agree. I'm, we have to be positive
and
hopeful and optimistic, Joel, because look at us. We're in a third season of our show, but then I do go, we've been doing this show before this moment, So I'm expecting a lot from the broadcasters and from production companies. And Joel, like you said, I expect excellence, not just a token gesture, not giving people half the budget than you would give somebody from a Fleabag or something like that, you know? So let's see if that does happen, but I'm very positive about it. I agree with Maddie. If you look at Sky TV, you have to look at their slate. You have to respect what they've been doing before this moment. You've got Us, you know, in the long run. You've got Bulletproof. You've got Lenny James, Save Me. You've even, you know, got two female leads, Hitmen show. So I'll take my hat off to them. And with BAFTA, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because even Desmond's, I don't think, ever got nominated for a BAFTA. So I think BAFTA have to do a lot of work. You know, there's been a lot of conversations behind the scenes with BAFTAs. I think the membership needs to be looked at. I think also, yeah, it needs to be much more diverse, you know. I'm not just talking about a race, I'm talking about age as well and demographic. And, you know, it would be nice if you looked at the Craft Awards, there was no one of color nominated, you know. There was no ethnically diverse representation in any of those awards. So that was a shame. But there is an issue sometimes. I think, I just wonder, my question is that why can I will vote for like an Afterlife, and I would vote at Halifax, Tango in Halifax. Like, I will vote for anything, even if it's good and I'm not in it, you know, like a normal people. But I wonder why sometimes it doesn't happen the other way around, you know, in terms of when you have a good other shows with, you know, people that don't look like maybe the majority of the UK, why do they not get nominated when they are still showing excellence? And so I think that's the big challenge. That is the big challenge. What is that about? And, you know, I would love us to be nominated and acknowledged, but at the same time, it's not always about that. But I do think that is part of the problem as well, you know, to be visible in those spaces when you are doing something good that people are enjoying. You know, I think that is important. I think there's a lot of work to do, John. There's a lot of work to do, but we have to be positive. And in some ways, this COVID, the BLM movement, I've thought a lot about what can I do or what can we do within our lane. And in some ways, you know, Madeline being a female lead opposite, you know, Idris Elba is huge. Mm-hmm. You know, how many other black female leads are on the UK TV at the moment, apart from Madeline and Michaela? You know, how many shows have been made for like black British actresses? It's really poor. So we have to celebrate that, but we are already doing that great work in that area, you know, by being part of the show, by having a diverse writers room, telling our own stories, like Madeline said. You know, it's the first time I've ever worked with a black DOP as well, you know, Kelvin. But yeah, so there's a lot to do. But I think with this, it's so funny, isn't it? Because you can talk about this and it's like you're banging on the drum, but we're able to be in a position to talk about these things and go, look, we're part of it. We're doing it. We're not asking. We're already doing it because of Idris. And so I feel like Madeline said something like this before, that we have to give Idris props. There are a lot of people in the UK that are in similar positions as Idris. And, you know, I'm not knocking them, but they've not actually done what Idris is doing. You know, he's putting his money where his mouth is, and without him, we would not have the show. So, yeah.
And he backs not just acting; he's everywhere. And I just, that's a very it's hard. You know, you don't go many days without hearing his name pop up in someone, whether it's a comedian or a show. He's in demand, but still to pour back into his roots, into the community, into the artists that are not known. I think it's really commendable, because it's you know, it's very easy to be self-centric, and I really appreciate that. And I wanted to jump on something that you said, Jimmy, because I think so. You know, the question of how does social justice happen? And I think this is part of it. It might be a small part, but representation is part of it, because suddenly, where people just see young black boys with guns and selling drugs on TV and all this stuff, suddenly, not only for the people that it's representing to show there's so much that we can do, it's also showing people that have those assumptions that that's what we are, that go, oh, suddenly that young black guy is not a threat. He's a lover. He's fun. He's smart. He is part of the community. Walter, he's a black present father. Okay, so we start changing those stereotypes, which starts to humanize people who may not be human to certain people in that way. They're just something derogatory, if that makes sense. And I think in light of everything that's been happening, when you see in certain posts and things people are putting out there, you start to realize there's a problem that is just beyond what, the extreme versions of injustice. There's just the thinking too, like, are these people more than what these stereotypes that we've grown up with? Suddenly, when you start seeing representation, you start to get a bigger picture of the race of people.
I would also say that goes into, Idris is doing stuff, McKay, Sami, Sami Kamara, Samson KO, but then also there needs to be different stories told, like where are How to Get Away with Murder and stuff like that, and where it's not about where you're from or the color of your skin. It's just about, I want to see a normal people, and they happen to be, like, I don't know, Asian and black, and it's just a story. It's not about, there are different races. It's just like, and I think we're behind on that. And I think the responsibility is on the commissioners at the broadcasters, as well as the production company, to tell. We've got millions of different stories.
Yeah, I think
we've not even touched the surface here.
I think you're right. And having the trust that it can be, like, you don't have to, you can leave people to create stuff, because there is different people that pieces appeal to, if that makes sense. And sometimes in that authentic telling of a story, you bring in a whole group of people that you may not have thought, because you're changing the narrative and you're letting them, Yeah.
As you both said, excuse me, the season 1, season 2, season 3 is it's told a great story. It's leading up nicely to season 4.
I'm saying, yeah. Thank you, Joe. 4
Joe,
and 5.
That's what we want. 4, 5, 6.
I love it.
In essence,
Jimmy, I see what you did there. Are you guys? I'm just wondering. Are you guys pushing to get involved in the writing of season 4 and 5? And I'd love to see you guys. Idris is great and the writers are great. This is not a slight at them. I can see the opportunity, though, that he's extending. So I just wondered if that's an aspiration on both your parts.
I would love to, I'm really more into the producing side of things,
Okay.
So I would love to, produce some episodes on one of the season 4 or season 5. But yeah, I would love to also use that role to help bring in other fantastic writers, from diverse backgrounds. Right. And what about you, Mads?
So I agree. I have great ideas that I feel like our producers are very open to from us. They definitely, even throughout the process, they've been quite open at taking our offerings. But I agree with Jimmy that also I know a lot of writers who have been, writing and preparing themselves for this time. So getting in more diverse writers, females and black females, to also join the group, and people that have stories that, it'd be nice to continue to grow the writers' room in that way.
Yeah.
I'm proud of what we've been doing already. So I think that would be, something I've got a few ideas for Agnes, potentials.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, listen, man, thanks for both of your time, and congrats on season 3. I'm looking forward to 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This becoming a mainstay.
Yes, Joel. Amen.
Yeah.
It all.
We've got so much scope with this that it doesn't have to end. So I just hope that the commissioners see that and bring new people, new voices in, keep the stories fresh and interesting, which, given the team, when I look down the credits of those involved, I see what's happening.
What's so lovely? I know we're leaving. As you talk about our cast and we talk about all the love, I just remember having this moment when I walked into the makeup and Curtis Walker was sat getting ready to put
Veteran.
on.
OV.
Do you see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I anyone who knows me knows I can get a bit gushy and a bit like, ah! And I just was like, oh my gosh, Curtis, I watched you through my youth. Thank you for the real McCoy and everything that you have brought as representation for us, and you being part of this show just confirmed the beauty, because that we can celebrate our veterans and our up-and-comers, Ellen Thomas, Joe Martin. You know, I'm watching Stephen Lawrence the other day, the one, Marion, John Baptiste, and I'm seeing all the talent that we don't see as much these days in the screen, but then some of us, you know, Joe Martin is in there, and I'm like, look at our talent. So having those guys come back in our show and be, it's been amazing.
And just to my thing, just before we go, sorry, my nephew's like, he wants to play his Fortnite. Sorry, Joe, man. I'm on uncle duties. I'm living my character, Valentine. But to follow on from what Mad said, is that look at that. The fact that we've had Joe Martin, you know, your Curtis Walker involved, you know, at a time when the real McCoy has been put back out, you know, on TV, when the tapes apparently had disappeared. So Madeline just talked about a moment that we were like, we've got our legends here working with us. Not only Idris Elba, but we've got someone like Curtis Walker, you know what I mean, and Joe Martin, and how huge that was for us, you know. But it should, and Ellen Thomas, and it should be like that though. It should be like that. And again, it was so nice that, you know, he just knows that, you know, Green Door know that, to bring these heavyweights back in, you know what I mean? It's like, there's a lot of young people that won't be aware of how amazing they are, but now they are, because of not only in the long run, and they bring out the Will McCoy, and it's like, there's a thing in this UK, sometimes I think the lack of nurture, sometimes I think the neglect happens a bit more than the nurture. You know, if you're an amazing comedian like Llewellyn Gideon, Joe Martin, Curtis Walker, you know, why do they not have their own shows and like their bigger platforms here in the UK? And, you know, I'm hoping that, back to your question earlier, Joel, that this is the moment where the UK really starts nurturing its talent, especially talent that is like Black, Asian, or ethnically diverse.
That's right.
Jimmy, Madeline, thanks for your time. In the Long Run, free, out now, Sky. For those watching, tune in. Follow these two on their personal platforms. Do you want to promote those?
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, it's my name, Jimmy Akingbola, on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, I'm Madeline Appiah on Twitter and Instagram, but I'm not as active. But yeah, you can see me there.